Welcome to the Explainer. You know, if you just casually glance at the headlines for today, June 26th, 2026, it honestly looks like a chaotic, totally disconnected stream of events. We've got shifting global alliances, wild technology swings, and a stubbornly complex economy. But when you actually filter out all that noise, almost every major headline is being driven by three massive, interconnected macro forces. Today, we're going to decode these forces together so you can understand exactly what's shaping the global landscape right now.
Okay, let's dive into this. We're going to take dozens of complex updates and distill them into our cognitive roadmap for today. Number 1, the geopolitical thaw. Number 2, the AI infrastructure engine. And number 3, the economic waiting game.
First up, Section 1, the geopolitical thaw, focusing specifically on U.S.-Iran diplomacy and its global market impacts. To truly grasp the magnitude of this shift, we really need to listen closely to the exact language coming out of recent diplomatic updates. The U.S. and Iran are moving toward what both sides are actively describing as a potential long-term agreement. The White House is heavily emphasizing diplomacy over renewed military action right now. And behind the scenes, Qatar is playing a critical, quiet role as the key intermediary making these conversations happen. It is a profound and frankly surprising shift in the tone of international relations in the region, setting the stage for a much broader stabilization effort.
Now, what's genuinely fascinating right now is the stark contrast happening across the globe. It's like we're living in a dual-track world. Over in the Middle East, there's this laser focus on diplomacy, the US and Iran are talking, and China is stepping in to urge continued peacemaking. But then on the flip side, we are seeing ongoing, intense security monitoring elsewhere. Ukraine and Russia are continuing to exchange long-range attacks, NATO is closely monitoring a highly complex, evolving situation in Europe, and maritime defense operations remain incredibly active out in the Pacific. We're basically experiencing peacemaking in one hemisphere and active defense in another.
So what does all this Middle Eastern diplomacy actually mean for you? Well, it translates directly to the global economy. There's a very clear chain reaction here. As U.S.-Iran negotiations advance, the immediate result is that shipping traffic through the crucial Strait of Hormuz can return to normal, safe levels. And because commercial ships can move freely without the constant threat of disruption, global oil prices are stabilizing right back near pre-conflict levels as supply concerns ease. Diplomacy is quite literally calming the global energy markets and keeping the cost of fuel in check.
Of course, all of this high-level international maneuvering is happening right alongside major cultural and domestic realities. While Iranian diplomats are negotiating these long-term agreements, their national team is simultaneously gearing up for a highly watched final World Cup group match that's drawing millions of eyes. Meanwhile, back in the U.S., the domestic political machine just keeps grinding on. Congress is actively debating intense defense and fiscal spending packages, and issues like the border and immigration remain front and center in the everyday political conversation. It's a great reminder that these massive global forces always play out on a very human, everyday stage.
And that brings us to our second major force. Section 2, the AI infrastructure engine, moving from software to physical power.
So, the crucial point is this. To understand the modern economy, we have to look at the hyperscalers. These are the massive cloud service providers, the absolute giants of tech. Think of them as the railroad barons of the 21st century. They are driving the single most dominant technology trend today through an unprecedented, accelerated build-out of global data centers. They aren't just writing code anymore. They are pouring billions into concrete, steel, and physical infrastructure to make advanced AI a reality. There is a brilliant, entirely physical cascade to this AI boom. It's like a giant line of dominoes. First, those massive data centers expand. That rapid physical expansion triggers a huge spike in semiconductor demand, which, by the way, is exactly why companies like Micron are reporting such phenomenal hardware results. But here's the catch. Those advanced chips require an unbelievable amount of power, causing electricity demand to just surge globally. It's pushing power grids so hard that utilities are forced to prep for massive long-term growth, even looking back to nuclear energy just to keep the AI engine running. Artificial intelligence is literally reshaping our physical energy grid.
And while the concrete is being poured for those data centers, the software applications are just rippling across every single industry at lightning speed. Developers are increasingly relying on AI coding assistants, which is fundamentally changing how software gets built. Over in hospitals, AI-assisted diagnostics are expanding rapidly, totally altering patient care. Out in Hollywood, the creative industry is actively evaluating brand new AI production tools to reshape entertainment. And behind the scenes of all this innovation, business models are pivoting fast, with usage-based AI pricing gaining serious momentum. It's touching absolutely everything, everywhere, all at once.
But all this hype brings up a very serious question, one that is absolutely keeping CEOs awake at night. How do businesses actually translate these massive AI infrastructure costs into measurable returns? The honeymoon phase of AI is officially ending. Enterprise customers don't just want a cool, fascinating chatbot anymore. They're pushing for predictable pricing, and they are demanding measurable productivity improvements to justify the billions of dollars being spent. The market is officially demanding financial discipline. Investors are increasingly rewarding profitable AI companies, meaning it's no longer just about having the absolute smartest foundation model out there. These models are now fiercely competing on efficiency and operating costs. Even governments, as they modernize digitally and expand AI across public services, are requiring cost-effective and highly secure cyber defenses. Efficiency is absolutely the new watchword in tech right now.
Let's move to our third and final force to see how this all builds together. Section 3, the economic waiting game, where markets hit the brakes.
We currently have an economy operating in two completely different realities. On one hand, market optimism is just soaring. SpaceX financing is attracting massive global attention, Bitcoin is trading near its recent highs, and semiconductor earnings are incredibly strong. But compare that to the consumer reality. Everyday people are dealing with intense housing affordability pressures nationwide, and Treasury yields remain stubbornly elevated, which makes borrowing super expensive. So you have the high-flying tech and space sectors soaring up top, while the everyday consumer is acutely feeling the squeeze on the ground.
Because of that squeeze, the entire financial system is basically frozen in a holding pattern. Federal Reserve officials continue signaling extreme caution on inflation. Right now, global investors are just sitting on their hands, waiting for today's key inflation data. That single piece of data is going to provide the vital clues needed for the path of interest rates, and it's going to dictate the second-half growth expectations for markets around the world. Literally every major financial decision right now hinges on inflation.
But, even while Wall Street holds its collective breath, the physical, domestic economy just keeps moving. Major storm systems are shifting east, bringing active weather alerts to several states. Yet, despite the economic caution and the rough weather, Americans are still packing their bags. Summer travel demand remains incredibly robust heading into the July 4th holiday. And all across the country, fueled by a mix of public and private funding, manufacturing and infrastructure projects are continuing to break ground. The daily gears of the nation never actually stop turning.
So let's synthesize all this, Section 4, the convergence, and defining the second half of 2026. Distilling everything down, we are left with three defining pillars. Number one, geopolitical diplomacy, particularly in the Middle East, is successfully stabilizing key global trade routes and easing our energy markets. Number two, the AI infrastructure engine is driving unprecedented investments, not just in software, but in our physical energy grids. And number three, financial markets are delicately hinging on incoming inflation data, desperately seeking clarity on interest rates before making their next big move. These aren't just isolated bullet points. They are the interconnected gears of a single global machine. I want to leave you with one final provocative thought. Will AI's massive productivity promises arrive fast enough to offset the heavy pressures of elevated interest rates and lingering global uncertainty? That is the ultimate race we're watching unfold right now. The technology is moving at light speed, but the economy is stubbornly asking for patience. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep an eye on those inflation numbers, and I'll catch you next time.